Hello, in this scenario, we're going to take a look at how to do data mapping as a part of a composable integration scenario with Sitecore. At the heart of every integration is a source system and a destination system, and the relationship in between the data and values in that data and the target system itself. Often, integration scenarios start out very simply with a spreadsheet that lists these are the fields of data that we need from the source system, and this is where they have to go in the target system. Sometimes the names or the values in those columns need to be discovered, and you spend a bunch of time making sure that all of these things relate to each other properly because it's often handed over to a developer. A developer then takes the spreadsheet or the data mapping that you've built and turns that into code. They write code at the source level that represents what you've created inside your spreadsheet and then move that into the target environment itself when they complete that, writing that code. Now, that's one approach. Another approach is where you have an abstraction. You have an abstraction away from the underlying integration, which is a pre-built data movement or data package that says, hey, we're just going to take all this data from the source system, how we've defined it, and we're going to move it into the target environment. And that removes you from actually having to do data mapping, but it also removes you from the ability to control or change the data mapping in the way that you want it to. So let's take a look at how something like this is done in a composable sense inside Put It Forward. So we're going to look at a Sitecore integration scenario. The process here is outside the scope of today's conversation, and of course, you can see a demonstration on this when you go and look at Process Designer and also Integration Designer. But we're going to look inside of one of the steps here today. So this is an integration step or a process control step, rather. We're going to move into the Integration Designer, and we see that we have a number of different fields that are mapped and related to one another. Now, the normal way inside of doing this inside Put It Forward is you'd come in and you click the link button here, and then you'd select the radio button, and then you would move on to the next field after you've mapped those fields. But I'm going to undo a number of these because we're going to simulate a scenario where you've got a lot of different fields maybe that you have to map together. Now, on the back end of Put It Forward, there's an AI algorithm that's going out and interrogating the underlying APIs to find and define the relationships in between them. So we're going to hit the Suggest Mapping button. Suggest mapping button is going to go out there and trigger the AI to say, okay, hey, what are the sources and destination that, or the field values that need to line up with one another? We're going to accept that, and then the mapping is essentially auto-built for you. So this allows you to compose the structure and the control and the relationship between the source and the destination very quickly without having to write any code. Now, of course, you can add other logic into this as well. This doesn't stop you from being able to add in a control. Maybe you want to add a date stamp to it. Maybe you want to add some if this then that logic to it as well. So source this city, if it equals say Austin, then we're going to do something else, and maybe that is a state code equals Texas or something to that effect. The point of this here is that you can quickly map source and destinations together. If you want to get into the deeper functions inside the integration designer, there's a demonstration available for that, and I encourage you to take a look at that. But in the data mapping function, you can move very quickly and be able to connect these things together using the auto mapper. Thank you very much for your time and attention today. Have a good rest of your afternoon.